Hey, house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 23 updates and spoilers. Happy Sunday. Hope you're having a great day so far. I really need to stop doing this with wet hair. Oh, God. All right. So, anyway, our house guests of the day are Kelly O and Joy Cummins. Thank you both so much for the support. We could not do this without you, and we appreciate it so, so much. So, thank you again. And if you guys want to be house guests of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. We only got a few days left this season. And before we get started, I also want to thank yesterday's super chatters because that is a fantastic way to support this channel and keep us doing what we're doing. So, Nina Sosa, Janine Honberger, The Real VB, and Vic Holcomb, thank you all so much for your super chats yesterday. Hey guys, hi. All right, so let's get started. We have some stuff to talk about today. So, when we left off yesterday, Big D and Azah were preparing to compete in part 2 of the final HOH competition of the season. So just a little refresher, Xavier did win part 1 the other day, which we'll see on tonight's episode. So he advances right to part 3, which will be on finale night. So Azah was pretty nervous yesterday morning leading up to this competition. She knows that this is a must win for her because nobody else is going to take her to the final 2. She's got to win her way there. On the flip side, Big D is pretty much a lock for final 2. Xavier and Azah would both pick him to go to the end. So, I mean, I don't know if he actually believes that because, he's always like, oh my God, I'm going to go up on the block or I'm going to get evicted. So, of course, he's like, I don't know if I'm going to get taken to the end, blah, blah, blah. All right. So then the feeds went down for a few hours for the competition and blah, 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 blah. Azah won. Azah won part 2. So that means that she and Xavier will be facing off on finale night for part 3. And that also pretty much means the winner of this season is probably going to be determined by who wins that final competition. Because if it all goes the way that it looks like it's going to go, whoever wins that comp is going to bring Big D to the end and beat him. So it's pretty wild that this season will be determined by who wins that competition. And that competition should be questions about like the stats of the jurors this season. Like they used to do kind of like a crapshoot where you would have to like decide how a juror would finish a statement, but then the last few seasons they were like, maybe that's a little ridiculous that that's the final competition and we should actually have some skill or something involved. So they have been doing questions the last 2 seasons about the jurors' games. So that's what we're looking at. But that also means no more competitions for Big D. He's donezo. He can only be taken to the end. He can't get there himself. And that also means that he has won 0 competitions this season. Okay. So after the competition, Xavier and Big D were chatting in the coral bedroom, and Big D is saying his knees hurt. He's pissed. He's upset that he couldn't win anything this whole season. He's like, I couldn't even win against one other person. Yep. He says, it makes me feel like I'm not valuable. It feels like I'm not an asset to the team. But you said that everything that happened this summer was because of you? And that you backpacked Azah through the whole season? Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, Xavier says you should feel good because if Azah wins part 3, she's taking you. She's not taking me to the end, which is true. Azah has made it pretty clear that she wants to go to the end with Big D, not Xavier. So I'm wondering, is Xavier regretting last week's decision? Because it seemed like Kyland was pretty intent on taking Xavier to the end and having that whole Batman versus Superman thing. But Xavier didn't want to deal with that. He wanted to go up against Big D and Azah because he felt they would be easier to beat. And I mean, he did beat Azah in the first round, but then Big D couldn't deliver the win here. So anyway, Xavier says, either way, you're going to be sitting in one of those 2 chairs. And Big D says, yeah, but I wanted to win it. But he feels like there's no way that he could have won that competition. Apparently, they were like, I don't know, standing on some like ball or a wheel or something, and they had to like not run, but like move on it almost like it was a treadmill, and then like stop the ball or the wheel on certain house guests' faces. And Big D didn't feel like he could do that safely. So I guess he was like down on his knees for part of it, like cutting up his knees. We'll see how it plays out on the episode. But anyway, Big D says now all the pressure is on you, Xavier, to win when I only had one job. Yep. And Xavier says it is what it is. Either way, it was going to be a situation where I felt like if I didn't win, I was going to go home. So, it doesn't matter. But Big D says it's annoying because he doesn't want to sit next to Azza in the final two. He says, I can't beat her. Oh my God. Does he seriously think that he has a shot at beating Xavier? Because that's freaking wild. Just be happy that you're getting dragged to the end. Even though you've treated Azza like crap, for some reason she's still willing to take you. I mean, it's smarter to take Big D, obviously, than Xavier. But still, like, he has done pretty much nothing this season, and now he's complaining because he doesn't want to go to the end with Azza, potentially. But anyway, a few minutes later, Azza and Big D were chatting in the Coral bedroom, and Big D says, I'm proud of you. You did great. And Azza's like, thanks. And she says, how are you doing? And Big D says, my knees hurt. I wish I could have actually performed. And Azza's like, no, you did great. Like, it was a hard competition. Again, Big D is saying he's happy for her, but it's hard. He's in a tough spot now. It's really tough getting dragged to the end. He says, I don't know what Xavier or you would do if you win. Come on. What do you think they're going to do? But he says, I feel like a sitting duck right now. My faith, I think he means fate, is in two people's hands. And he says, when I look at this jury, if I sit next to you, I lose. If I sit next to Xavier, I have a fighting chance. Oh my God. What a terrible read. I'm pretty sure he loses to both, either Xavier or Azza, but he would have more of a chance against Azza. It's absolutely wild. So Azza keeps telling him, you did great. Don't beat yourself up about it. And Big D says, I just feel like I don't deserve to go any further. Now you're saying this. He says, this could have been something that I could have added to my case. I just don't feel like I deserve it anymore. And he says, it's hard for me to build a case to each person of why they should bring me to the end. Just tell them that you've done nothing. You don't want to build a case. What? But he says, I've done so much up to this point, and now it's kind of like fair game. You and Xavier both earned your spots. Is this some sort of like freaking mind tricks he's playing? Like, I don't know what's going on here. But Big D says, I don't want to talk any more game after I'm done with my diary room sessions because there's no use. I just have to sit here for 4 days and wait and see what's going to happen. And Azza agrees, like, we don't need to talk any game anymore unless you want to. So Big D says, I saw myself in those two chairs and now I don't anymore. Oh my God. So dramatic. So dramatic. All right. Meanwhile, we've got Xavier pacing in the kitchen. He says, all right, it's you versus Azza. If you don't win, you go home. It's pretty much as simple as that. You have one more competition that you need to win. Okay. So later, Big D was talking to the cameras. He had a tear rolling down his face as he was lying down. He says, I have to blame myself. I let myself get defeated before the competition even started. I guess he walked out there. He heard what he was supposed to do, and he was like, I can't do that. So he says, I was just in so much pain during the competition. The skin on my knees was just melting away. I'm sorry, but I'm getting Chrissy from Big Brother Over the Top vibes here when she was like, I left 30% of my hands on that wall. Do you guys remember that? He's going to be looking in the rule book next. But later, Big D and Xavier were chatting in the living room. Big D says, I'm going through it right now. He says, I don't want to go to the end with Azza. Again, he feels like he has more of a chance against Xavier. Oh my God. What? So Xavier says, I think what you're missing is that you're going to be going to the end either way. Big D's crabbing has to be getting on Xavier's nerves because now Xavier is in a position where he might not make it to the final two. You know, if Ozza wins that part 3, Xavier's going to the jury. So Xavier made that move last week that would benefit Big D by getting rid of Kyland, even though Kyland was very clear that he wanted to go to the end with Xavier. And now Big D is like, oh, I don't want to go to the end with Ozza. He's complaining, but he's definitely going to be taken to the final two. So Big D says, I'm going to be devastated if we don't go to the final two together after all the work that we've put in. He says, you deserve to go to the end as much as I do. So, like, not at all. I don't know. But Big D is complaining more about the competition and his knee skin melting. I'm sorry, but he kept using the phrase, like, the skin on my knee was just melting. He felt like the competition was physically impossible for him. So Big D again is saying, we worked our asses off all game, like Derek and Cody, like Cody and Enzo. And he says, we got Nicole F over here showing up out of nowhere. Oh my God. So he says, I'm going to regret taking Ozza this far if she wins. She doesn't know the dedication and the work that we already put in place for things to happen the way that they did. Who is this we? What have you done to make sure that you got this far in the game? What? I think you don't realize what all the other people in the cookout were doing to make sure that you made it that far. Big D loves to take credit for things that he didn't do. But anyway, Big D says everyone did their part when it comes to the cookout. He says, I get that. I'll say that. But me and you have put in so much. And he says the perfect way to end the season would be to have the two people who did so much sitting next to each other in the end. Oh, so you wanted to see Tiffany and Kyland in the end. What? Okay, so Xavier, he's trying to bring Big D back to earth. And he's telling Big D, you did everything you could. You gave it everything you had in that competition. But Ozza pulled out the win. And he's like, good for her. Like, she deserved that win. Yeah, so Xavier says, if I win part 3, me and you go to the end as planned. If I lose part 3, I think Ozza's going to take you to the end. And he says, I would be honored to lose to either of you. Because he said, neither of you wavered from the cookout. This whole thing about, like, who was the most loyal to the cookout just really rubs me the wrong way. Because they have all had their moments, except for, like, I feel like Hannah, where they have, like, strayed away from the cookout and put their own interests first. And also, Big D and Ozza have never had the chance to really, like, go against the cookout. You know, I guess they could have voted a different way or something, but they were never really in power. But even Big D and Ozza, they were acting against the interests of the cookout from time to time when they would, like, put Brittany above the cookout. So, like, it's ridiculous. Xavier, he wanted Alyssa to stay past Tiffany, so I don't need to hear any of that. But anyway, nothing happening so far today. We've got 3 days left until the finale night, and part 3 will be happening on finale night. So that's it for competitions until finale night. And it seems like there's not going to be a ton of game talk. So we'll see how they keep each other entertained for the next few days leading up to this finale. But that's all we got right now. So I want to thank you all so much for watching. Hello.
Hi.
What's up?
In my pajamas.
That's okay. Hi, Bowie. Yay! Bowie said he's in his pajamas too.
These are much nicer than mine.
Yeah. I want to thank today's super chatter, Jody Cortez. Thank you so much. And he says, Big D, OMG, drop the mic. Big D has a lot to say for not doing much in this game. I just can't get behind his way of thinking. It's so delusional.
I feel like he's a dum-dum.
Yeah, he's a little delusional. But anyway, that's it. So leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you all so much for being here. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And
I have a question.
Okay.
Big D's main asset,
Mm-hmm.
self-proclaimed in the game, are his social skills.
Right.
So how is he so far off reading everyone?
Because he didn't contribute that much socially. He was always talking about how he was convincing people to do this and convincing people to do that. But what he's failing to recognize here is that other people had already put those moves in motion and he was just kind of like reinforcing them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's what he's not really seeing. Oh my goodness, Sally Anderson, thank you so much for the super chat. You are so generous and so sweet. Let me make sure you're on here for tomorrow. And Sally says, "Thank you, Maddie and Janet, for a summer of entertainment. I really enjoyed it." Oh, I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. We had a good time with you guys.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you so much. All right, I gotta go eat some lunch. So thank you all so much for being here. We will see you for tonight's episode recap.
Oh my.
Yes, we'll see. I don't know what else they're gonna show on tonight's show besides
I
like
want to see some knees
the endurance
melting.
competition. Oh, that was so disgusting.
I believe the correct percentage was 75%.
Was it that much?
It was.
I couldn't remember how much it was.
It was 75.
I also want to say too, Big D is complaining about like all these cuts on his knees. You remember how messed up Oz's knees were from that one competition? I didn't hear that much complaining about it though.
It was 75 because you were in California at the time, and I believe I was.
Oh, you were doing it that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, we'll see you guys later. So until then, much love. Here's the awkward ending. Bye, guys. Bye.